Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I'm Ethan Lane Miller, and joining me today are
Barack Malkin.
RDY.
Woo!
Yay!
So glad to see you.
Glad to see you too.
So
Both of
this
you.
episode starts with, not the greatest thing, but we get there. A couple weeks back, I went home for a few days following the unexpected passing of a family member. I got in and I was staying with my sister and brother-in-law. We were just kind of sitting around. It was the evening. We already had dinner. It's like, okay, now what do we do? And we started scrolling. You know what it's like. You have 5 bajillion streaming apps, and yet there's nothing to watch. And we came across Spaceballs.
Oh.
And we're like, you know what? Let's watch Spaceballs.
Oh, amazing.
Just space?
So we watched some Spaceballs, and I had a different kind of idea in mind for what this episode was going to be. But then I watched Spaceballs, and it said, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing for this episode. So my nerd culture is Spaceballs, and I'll also say, generally that genre, but specifically I'm going with Spaceballs. What
is the genre? Like Mel Brooks genre or sci-fi?
I would say
genre?
like parody.
Sure, parody genre. Great.
It fits with the Weird Al.
Yeah.
But also like Spaceballs is like the movie that brings people into nerddom, even if they're not nerdy.
Oh, we're going to come back to that in a second. All right. So I'm going with Spaceballs for my nerdy text. What might I be going with Jewishly?
The thing that popped into my head might be based on what time of year it is. As we record, we're 3 days away from Purim. And I think about how Spaceballs is basically the Star Wars narrative dressed up and made funny, like a Purim spiel dresses up the Esther narrative and makes it funny.
Like a proton torpedo down the Death Star's exhaust port. You are right on the money.
RDY.
That felt like a bit on the other end of this spec. Like we're in the parody realm, and you're like full nerd reference right there.
and listeners, it definitely. I know I wasn't teed off when going for this episode. I said, "Hey, I want one around Purim, please."
Yeah,
That's true.
I was trying to find a fake match just to add some discussion. Like I'm trying to think of what other things Spaceballs could be paired with. And I'm sure like there's a lot of Jewish references within it if we wanted to go that route.
I'm happy with the torpedo fired by the one with the force and right down that spaceport.
Great.
Sure.
Let's do it.
I definitely think that there's some wonderful parallels between Spaceballs and Purim.
Yeah.
Both involve evil folks or empires that are made to look very, very silly by the protagonists. As RDY said, you are taking one story and you are dressing it up. I also think when you look at, take a step, look at the genre of, Mel Brooks sort of films, you have this, different sort of costumes placed on top of it. We know year over year, we are using different Purim themes. And so, this year's Purim theme was, Spaceballs. Next one is History of the World Part 1.
I also like to think that, we're talking about Spaceballs being the parody comparison for Purim Spiel. And I just want to be honest that for most Purim Spiels, they don't look like the entirety of Spaceballs. I think most Purim Spiels look like the scene where they turn the stunt actors around.
Yes. Purim spiels are the stunt doubles of Spaceballs.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's very, very rarely you get a production quality of Spaceballs. Most frequently, you get a production quality of the stunt actors of Spaceballs.
100%.
You know what's really nice about this topic is that they recently announced, Josh Gad recently announced that Spaceballs 2 is happening, and that's a thing. And I've seen a couple of the casting and some early shots, and I'm very excited. Rick Moranis is coming back into acting for this.
Yeah. They finished filming now. It's post-production.
Oh, amazing. I'm so excited.
Can't wait.
when they went for Spaceballs 2, I was like, I don't think we should do this. I don't think we should mess with this. And then when they said Rick Moranis is going to come out of retirement to be in it, complete 180 from me. I was like, yep, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, so awesome. Very excited.
Also, Josh Gad. Like, yes, please.
Yeah.
I suspect this movie is going to be in good hands.
Yeah.
So I had a few reflections, as I was watching Spaceballs, and I'll also say we then the next night watched History of the World Part 1. So like that's also why it's kind of at top of mind for me.
Yeah.
But like the first thing that came to mind for me was it has been years, like potentially even a decade since I've watched this film. And I watched it and realized, oh, I quote from this so much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's so quotable. Like I will just out of context with one of my sisters when they're asking when something is, I'll say, we're in now.
Yes, we're watching now.
I will. There a few weeks ago, we were having like a breakfast for dinner meal, and we did like different yogurts and toppings and things. And somebody's like, "Which one do you want?" And I just went, "Just plain yogurt."
It's just plain yogurt.
And then I went, "Actually, I want the vanilla," but I couldn't resist.
Do you know the thing about Spaceballs, the flamethrower?
Yeah, what about?
And the Fifth Element?
Yes, we talked about this.
Okay,
I think I was the one that I think mentioned it. As
I had that feeling, but
the theory that the villain was a child during that time, and therefore he was like such a fan of the flamethrower aspect of his gun.
Yes.
Yeah,
my favorite.
Yeah.
Spaceballs, the flamethrower. Kids love
this one.
Ludicrous speed.
Ludicrous speed. Yes, I've used that a lot. Yeah.
I will often, if there's a short word, I will add Alamu to the end of it because it was Bartholomew. Yeah. So I will add like an extended version to that word if there's a short word that comes up.
What's your name, Barack? What's your full name, Barack Alamu?
That doesn't work. Just plain Barack.
But my first time watching that as a kid, and he's going barf, barf. I did not realize he was calling for someone at first watch. I thought this is a really dumb way to show he's getting sick.
Yeah.
Comb the desert that ends in a punchline.
Comb the desert. That punchline is great.
To keep this family friendly.
Family friendly.
The other one that I'll do sometimes is if I'm like having toast with breakfast and I'll put some spread on. I'll go, it's jammed.
Yes. Yes. I've got the bleeps, I've got the sweeps, I've got the creeps. The what, and the what?
Yeah.
That's not all he's lost. I mean,
we're not gonna spend this episode just reminiscing.
We could. It would be so much fun. I'm surrounded by.
Yes, and that's the point. I watched this and I was like, oh man, I quote from this so frequently.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. So Spaceballs is great. I love Spaceballs. So at least for Spaceballs, it's a great way to make light of things. And I'm not saying it's on the same level of the Purim story, which when you drill down into it
is just as bad as the Star Wars story.
Yeah, we're talking about an oppressive regime, unbelievably oppressive regime.
I'm talking about badly written. I know it's a little bit of a hot take.
Whoa.
And you know that about my love-hate relationship with Star Wars. And I will suggest the writing of the Star Wars movie is cheesy, basic. There's nothing difficult about it. The good guys are only good. The bad guys are only bad.
What do you mean, RDY? The villain's wearing all black. It's very subtle.
It's subtle.
It was a space western, so he based it off
a space spaghetti western.
Yeah, I was just going to add that in. Then so the dichotomy of good and evil is supposed to be. Yeah, I thought it right. I hear what you're saying, but
it's not good writing, and neither is the Book of Esther.
Okay,
and that's
there's so much. There's so much I want to explore here. So
wait, hold on. Before we move on, I need to also talk about this because my cousins would really be upset. So my cousin's last name is Schwartz, and my sister and I for our B'nai Mitzvah, the theme for our party was movies, and so we named their table Spaceballs, and we sat all the Schwartzes at that table. Yeah,
may they all be with you.
Yes.
Excellent, Barack.
Excellent. All right, sorry. Now you can continue. I just wanted to make sure I share that.
No, that was good.
Hi, Schwartzes, if you're listening.
May the Schwartz be with you. Yes.
Yes.
Artie, you have no disagreement from me about the writing of Star Wars.
Mhm.
Like I'm with you. What I want to hear more about is your critique of the Book of Esther.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. If you tell the story in an abbreviated kids way, we edit it enough that it's a simplistic story that still makes sense. But when you look at the details of it, it is absolutely ridiculous. Take, for example, Esther hiding her Judaism. Okay, we know that Mordecai tells her, "Don't tell the king that you're Jewish," and she does, and the king doesn't know that she's Jewish. But everybody knows Mordecai's Jewish. He's making a thing about it with Haman, the king's vizier, the king's lead advisor, and everybody knows that they're related because she goes and like takes care of him when he's sitting in sackcloth and ashes in the courtyard. So they make it publicly known that they're related. They make it publicly known that he's Jewish, and yet they somehow are able to hide her Judaism.
I have relatives that aren't Jewish.
Not in ancient Persia, you didn't.
No, fine, whatever.
You don't know his family lineage.
The other thing is like the king makes these decrees that might as well say everyone should know that water is wet. Things like when you are in your own household, you make your own rules. Like the man is in charge of his own household. Like that was already a thing.
I don't know,
And
RDY. The idea of a ruler making nonsensical rulings doesn't feel very foreign to me right now.
it doesn't feel foreign, but it's still ridiculous. And it's still bad writing. Another decree that Ahasuerus makes is you speak your native language in your home. You don't need to tell people that. That's natural. So it's just absolute silliness. And the whole like when Haman gets foiled at the end, he like falls on his knees in front of her and falls on the couch so that he's prostrate in front of her lying on the couch. And the king comes in and says, "Oh, now you're trying to take advantage of my wife after making plans to murder her. But also, king, why did you walk out and leave the villain alone with your wife?"
But he didn't know he was the villain, did he? At that point? Oh,
At
he
that
did.
point, he did. He leaves to go get the guards.
Oh, come on. Well, yeah, that's very funny. I hear what you're saying of like the story is a bad story, and the similarities between the overemphasized good bad pieces of it is present as it is in the Star Wars movie. I can feel that.
Yeah. And there's also one of my favorite sillinesses of the story is that like Haman tells the king that they're going to kill all the Jews and the king's like, "Sure, no problem." And then they're like, "When are we going to do it?" And oh, I don't know, maybe we should draw lots. We can like figuring out that the Jews need to be murdered, not a problem. But deciding on a calendar date, we better randomize that.
Mhm.
We better throw some dice. And why do the dice land on the Jewish calendar? So we're going to kill them on the 14th of Adar. That's a Jewish date.
Oh, that's funny. Which is not the calendar that they would have been using.
But
could they just yeah. Okay, go ahead.
It's not impossible, but it is highly unlikely that a king who ruled 127 provinces would be using the calendar of the people who occupy maybe 2% of his kingdom.
I think what Barack was about to say, and if not, I'm saying it isn't it possible that was just translated?
I'll give you that.
Okay.
Yeah, but here's the comparison, right? Oh, I'm trying to remember the whole thing. You can help me out, Ethan. Is they're sitting around in the Star Wars movie watching the blueprints of the Death Star, and Luke leans over and is like, "Oh, I've got bigger swamp rats or whatever."
We've targeted womp rats.
It was, I believe the line is, "I used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home."
They're not much bigger than 2 meters.
Yes.
Right. And he's sitting in a room like everybody in that room should be able to shoot that thing. And he the new guy in the room leans over to brag to these experienced pilots that he'd be able to shoot this thing. And
okay, in Luke's defense, see, here I am. I told you it's a love-hate relationship. In Luke's defense, he says that right after someone says, "How are we going to hit that? It's so small."
And I will hold on. I will further go on to say that that's in character for Luke, who is lived on a desert farm boy. Of course, he like
Sure.
thinks he's tough and super cool.
Right, because in the end he couldn't even shoot it. He needed to use the force. If he was that good, he wouldn't have had to use the force at the end.
Maybe he was using the force to target womp rats,
Oh,
and
I
he
like
didn't know
that.
it.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
That makes a lot more sense for me because the fact that he brags about it and then can't do it without the force is is in line with like this the other like bad writing that you're talking about.
all right. So
Yeah,
one
yeah.
caveat
We could
here.
both be right.
Right.
Well, so hold on. So on the one hand, it's not very fair to point to the prequels to help fix the mistakes of, of sort of things,
Okay.
but it does seem parallel to Anakin being the only human who can use a pod racer. That like he had these innate abilities that he didn't really understand that he had yet at the time that allowed him to be a pod race pilot.
Yeah, the logic still holds, even if the proof is an after proof.
Sure.
Yeah, cool. RDY, I'm going to make a bold assumption here that you believe that Spaceballs took the material it had to work with and made it better, or at least did it better.
Yeah.
So
I
would
mean,
it
it's
be?
a parody, so like, if a song comes on, like My Sharona, I will very often sing the words to My Bologna
Yeah.
because
Mm.
I'm drawn to that kind of material.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I'll also say Star Wars was like the first movie of its like yes, it was a spaghetti western in space, but there weren't a lot of really good space sci-fi movies at that time. And so I think because they did space western so well, it was touted as being like a really great movie. Like I'm, I'm for some reason I'm working my way through the Transformers movies right now, and they are bad. They're not
Mhm.
good. They're not
Mm-mm.
good. But I
Nope.
remember when they came out, it was like, "Whoa, look at this technology of like the Transformers on the big." It got old so fast, and so I think this is the same thing with the Star Wars. The first Star Wars movie is it was new, it was interesting, but
It.
the yeah,
It was the
I
special
want to.
effects.
Yes.
yeah,
It was the special effects, and it also portrayed spaceships in a different way. The special effects were good, and also it was the first time that really mainstream you saw like a dirty used universe where it used to be very like
yeah.
chrome polished sort of thing. So I want to go back to something RDY said, which was Spaceballs brings people into being nerdy when they're not already nerdy.
Yeah.
I have actually had that experience with Purim spiels and my non-Jewish friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I have brought non-Jewish friends, and my sister Elizabeth very famously brought a non-Jewish boyfriend to one of the Purim spiels. And I was like, oh man, this poor guy's gonna have no idea what's going on. But I do believe I've brought both of my non-Jewish friends to different Purim spiels at different points.
I've never done this. Is this?
I recommend it. It's very fun.
Huh.
When a synagogue does Purim right, especially the Purim spiel, as my congregation in California, Congregation B'nai Tzedek, every year the same guy would direct it. He took it very seriously and in like a goofy way, but he had us rehearse from the first Sunday of January until Purim. So every
Oof.
Sunday we had a 2 hour rehearsal and we would try to run through it at least one time. And he encouraged memorization, though I never did. And like if you're really taking it seriously and you put together a production as goofy and as amateur hour and as silly as it's going to be, it draws people in. The number of people who told me I came to this congregation for the first time on Purim and I never wanted to leave.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, RDY. Shout out to Adat Chaverim and Valerie Klein, who was the religious school director there, who wrote some banger Purim spiels that I got to be a part of.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and the one that I was a part of last year in Austin was terrific. They took it very seriously. The one that I was in this year with here in Pittsburgh with the congregation that will be called Beit Kulanu.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're allowed to say it. That it was taken very seriously. It was super fun. They were another one that like rehearsed regularly. So, if you really get a few dedicated people who are willing to put it together, it's a much different experience than watching the staff and only the staff stand in a line and read from a script.
One of the things that I've used in my professional career that started with Nifty was this idea that having fun is serious business. And
Yeah.
I've kind of pulled that up at different points throughout my career. And I'm in a moment right now where I'm really using that as like not quite a mission statement, but like a guiding light sort of principle. Fun fact, if you go to the Shalom Austin J Camp's website and look at the staff page, you'll see that that's right there up front.
Yay.
But you're hitting onto something, RDY, which I think is that like not just having fun is serious business, but to do humor well, you have to take it very seriously. And there's no doubt that Mel Brooks takes it very seriously. I love the idea that Valerie Klein, I'm equating her with Mel Brooks in this comparison.
Wow.
That's great.
That was high praise.
It's earned.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think also of Weird Al, and when he writes a parody, he'll take like a full notebook to write different rhymes to come up with the idea he has, and rejected verses, and that are every once in a while on an interview or a TV show or something like that, he'll read a rejected paragraph to like eat it, and it's hysterical, but he just didn't like it as much as the other stuff.
Awesome.
Not that I'm biased, but Weird Al's another great example of someone who takes this stuff very seriously. Like you can tell because his stuff has layers to it.
Yes. And he's an incredible musician. And people write that part off because he's doing parody and he's imitating other people, but he imitates their style so well.
Yeah. I think this leans to this is off topic, but I think what you're both talking about is the idea, and like Picasso is the first famous example that I know of with this, where you first learn the rules so you can break them.
Oh,
right.
Amen.
And so I think, I don't know of any of Mel Brooks' non-humor pieces, but I can only assume it's better. Right, that it's just as great. And I always believe that comedians make the best dramatic actors because the craft of learning, I'll say, emotion, right? How to invoke emotion in a like dramatically is difficult, but you do that and you can break the rules. And so like, not that humor is a broken emotion, but that it's something that's more difficult for people to grasp. And so
Well, look at Tom Hanks. He started as a co-star on a goofy TV show called Bosom Buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he did a lot of comedies early on and then switched to dramas, and now he won't stop until he's played every human being alive.
As he should.
He really should.
I was even thinking of Robin Williams. Like when he did some of those serious roles later in his career, it was just incredible.
Like Awakenings, Patch Adams.
Patch Adams is what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite Purim spiel themes you've seen or been a part of?
I know we've talked about this one before, and I think one of the favorite. So I used to write Purim spiels. I haven't done it in a couple of years. Like once COVID hit, congregations stopped reaching out. But I think one of the favorite ones was a Muppets one, just because I got to write up Statler and Waldorf from the balcony commenting on the whole thing. And then I also enjoyed a Frozen one where Olaf was like a Hamantaschen brought to life. And so just like how Olaf really wanted to be, he loved summer, this Hamantaschen really loved Oneg.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The Purim spiel that I would love to write is called Wicked Man. And it would be, and it would be the background story to Purim and how Mordechai and Haman were actually really close friends.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, come on, Temples.
It's in my head, but it hasn't come out on paper.
Gosh, it's amazing.
A couple of my favorite I don't know
RDY, that is genius.
I desperately want to see this.
Oh my gosh.
Barack, if you decide to write it,
Sounds
I will
so fun.
happily put that idea in the universe and let you run with it. The 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 idea of the spiels themselves are to me less like this one spiel is great, but it's all these moments. I also wrote a Muppet spiel, and I also had Statler and Waldorf moments that were
Yeah.
so much fun. I actually played Waldorf to Al Davidson's Statler, and we were backstage the entire time. And sometimes we would be on script, and sometimes we would be off script as we were heckling our friends and fellow performers. We did a Spam-A-Lot spiel. That was a lot of fun. One of my favorite moments was a Star Wars spiel that I called Star Poors. And it was the moment in that one was when I cast the senior rabbi I was working with, Rabbi Alan Litwack, as Darth Vader. And his entrance was to AC/DC's Back in Black. It was phenomenal. He nailed it. It was so good.
It's a toss up for me for the Wizard of Oz and the Lion King.
Mm.
Nice. What were they called?
Oh, I don't remember.
The Lion Queen.
I don't remember. Oh, what I remember was I was Rafiki. I remember I was the Tin Man. It was very fun.
Recently I learned that the opening song to Lion King, the Vasaganya, and I'm butchering the pronunciation,
Yep.
it translates to, "Oh my God, look, it's a lion."
Is that real?
I believe it. I saw it on the interwebs.
Oh, it's
Hold
got to
on.
be true. It's got to be true.
Well,
Hold on.
are you looking it up? I haven't touched Google yet tonight.
Oh, RDY's right. The opening phrase is often misinterpreted, but means "Here comes a lion, father," or "Behold a lion."
Nice.
So
Saganya.
yeah. So I am excited for Spaceballs 2 very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah, me
much.
too.
And I am so glad to have gotten to have this conversation with both of you. Is there anything we
too.
haven't touched on about Purim or Spaceballs
I
or
feel like we didn't talk at all. I feel like we just reflected and enjoyed memories this time.
That's
Like
all right.
all we did was, it feels like all we did was quote the movie for this whole episode.
I
which
talked a little bit about the Purim.
Yeah. I did enjoy the fact that you say the story of Esther is a bad movie and Star Wars is a bad movie, but the parodies of both of them are way better.
Yeah.
I like that comparison a lot. I really find that fascinating.
yeah, I am going to be noodling on that one for a little bit.
Also, Spaceballs the movie has the best.
Not to be confused with Spaceballs, the coloring book.
Spaceballs the lunchbox.
Baseballs the action figure.
Yeah.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Oh my God, we
Mwah.
are just quoting it.
Yeah.
The Spaceballs has the best trailer ever. And so I'm going to say to our listeners, go to YouTube and search for Spaceballs trailer because it might be cut out when I describe it. So what happens is there's a field of stars, and the white word space slowly lowers down into view of the screen. It takes like a good 20 seconds. And then a little door opens up in the P, and Mel Brooks walks out wearing a shirt that says Spaceballs the director. And he turns around, he goes, "Space? Just space?" And he holds up a megaphone that says Spaceballs the megaphone. And he goes, "Where are my balls?" And the word balls crashes into the word space. And it says Spaceballs the movie coming soon. That's it.
great.
That's the whole
Amazing.
trailer.
Oh my goodness.
It was very refreshing in this sad time for my family to just sit down and laugh. And it was like a stroll down memory lane watching
Yeah.
Spaceballs.
That's such a good Purim message too, because the message of Purim is we're trying to murder the Jews and we're not successful. Like it's a moment that could be full of sadness, and we turn it around with joy. And this year on Purim, we're in the middle of a war, and yet we do it anyway because it is so important to our people to celebrate and acknowledge the moments of joy, even through times of sadness. And while I remain very sorry for your family's loss, Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be a blessing, I am so glad that you had this opportunity with your sister and brother-in-law to have time to laugh and be together like that.
Yeah, thank you. It was good. And
Now I wonder when I can start showing my boys. They're 5 and 7. Common Sense Media, which is a great website that I trust for knowing when I can do a movie or show with my kids, says 12 and older. And I think there's a lot of older stuff, and I agree with that. And I want to show them this. Like, right, Josh Gad wrote Spaceballs 2, wanted to write Spaceballs 2 because he said he was showing it to his kid. And I don't know how old his kid was in that story.
I was probably too young when I first saw Spaceballs, but that's okay.
Do you think there's other Mel Brooks movies that I can show to a 7-year-old?
Um,
Right? History, like even History of the World, there's still like a lot of aggressive
there's
masculinity.
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's a lot of racism that was a lot less problematic in our
Yeah.
awareness in the 80s, in our awareness, not in actuality.
Yeah.
And History of the World Part 2, which is a series, I think
I watched
that's
that.
all right. Yeah.
That's fine. Well, I think the other piece here is right. Scary Movie 6 released their first trailer, and there's been a lot of slack given to the Wayans brothers because they make fun of everything, which is what comedians do. And so I think that's the other issue is that when you watch a comedy parody movie, the Mel Brooks stuff, Airplane, Naked Gun, like they're going to have things that are inappropriate for somebody or
Yeah.
not liked by everybody because the point is to make fun of everything. Like it's not there was a comedian who was like nobody's safe or like I forget who it was, George Carlin or somebody, but
I
no.
think I know who you're talking about. Dane Cook.
Was it Dane Cook? Oh,
Dane
I thought
Cook used to say he was making fun of everyone equally.
yeah,
It wasn't really true, but that's what he would say.
right. And so like I totally stand with the Wayans brothers, and I understand why people are upset by the trailer piece. But if you're gonna say it's okay to make fun of everybody else except for me, then I don't think the movie's for you. Right? I think you've got to understand that humor and comedy mean that you have to laugh at what's going on in everywhere. You, them, us, we, all of it.
Shout out to my friend Brian Wofford, who just suggested Young Frankenstein.
Oh, sure. There's some sexual things, but I think they may go over the heads of my kids, right? Those are big knockers.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Which one had? No, that's Blazing Saddles. I'm thinking of.
Blazing Saddles does not hold up.
No. Well, and I should not show that to my kids yet. Absolutely not.
Or
No.
ever.
Ever? Really? It was good as a kid.
It really does not hold up. And if your kids your kids are going to grow up in an age that is probably even more careful with the things they say than my kids. And I would be embarrassed to show Blazing Saddles to my kids.
Ah, that's fine. I just love Telegram for Mongo. Telegram for
it's
Mongo.
funny. There are funny bits that are still there are pieces that still hold up, but the movie as a whole.
I wonder if there's like a 2026 edited cut version of these movies that somebody has done.
It would be 5 minutes.
I was gonna say I don't know how long of a movie that is.
Well, who was it? I think it was one of you that recently sent me that when there was an actor who was in a bad space, and so they decided to spend all of their time editing the Lords of the Rings movies down to 2 hours. Have you heard about this?
No.
There's an actor who, because he was in a bad headspace, instead of like doom scrolling or listening to the world, he just took the Lord of the Rings movie and edited it down to 2 hours as like a watchable cut.
That's funny. I have a friend who did that with the prequels to Star Wars.
Oh, that's great.
That'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torahsmash.com to find where to connect with us online, email us directly, find previous episodes, and more. And we did a whole episode about Spaceballs? Oh, great. It's just what we needed. A Drewish podcast.
Funny? You don't look Drewish.
So I listen to all my podcasts at 1.5, including my friend who has a couple of podcasts. And the last time I hung out with him, I was like, God, I feel like he's bored with me. And then I realized it's because he's talking regular speed, and I listen to him really fast and sped up and like energized. And so he's not bored with me. I'm just not used to hearing him talk like a normal human being.